It's podcast time. Do-do-do. It's podcast time. Do-do-do. On Hurd Ya Saw. Do-do-do. Oh, Atomic Blonde. I'm going to make like we've been in conversation for a little while as we sort of get rolling. This may get cut. It's not going to get cut because there are no cuts on the podcast. Welcome back to Hurd Ya Saw. I'm joined tonight by Shay Collins, EJ Lee, and Zachariah Ganderwolf as we're going to talk about Atomic Blonde. As is tradition, we will then start off with our one-line hot takes for the newcomers to the podcast. Zach, the way this works is we'll be going around each and just giving our one-line hot take to sum up the entire film. One line. Just your first initial thoughts, whatever you feel in your heart. We're going to begin with the master of disaster, the person who's going to keep us on track, because this time it's the fast cast. EJ Lee, your one-line hot take of Atomic Blonde.
A lot of neon, a lot of 80s music. It was kind of a hot mess.
Hot
Bit
mess?
of a hot mess.
Big hot mess?
Huge hot mess.
Delicious hot mess. Zach, your one-line hot take.
It was a great music video.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking good. Oh, that's incisive.
Solid.
I like
Yeah.
this.
That
I
is
like that
solid.
this man was prepared. Shay Collins.
This film highlights why John Wick is so good.
Yes, because this was one half of the John Wick team, wasn't it?
One half of the John Wick team.
Yeah.
Just the John part.
Just the John, no Wick.
No Wick.
All right, as is tradition on Hurd Ya Saw, we will now move into the recounting of the...
yours?
Oh yeah, my one-line hot take. Holy shit, I'm sorry, I'm in fast
Come
cast
on!
mode. My hot take, I would say, this movie thinks it's a lot smarter than it is. It's quite pretty in places, but it's that girl at the party. You think, maybe she has cool ideas. She doesn't. EJ,
What girl at the party?
there... Thanks for kicking the table there, Shay. Just, cool. The girl, sometimes you... Well, not girl, person... Okay, that
No,
was...
EJ's just wondering, wait.
Where are
why
where are
haven't
these
you
girls?
introduced me to
Where are
this-
these girls
this-
at the party who make you feel like
this
that
woman,
you're
yeah.
watching Atomic Blonde? So we'll now do a recount of the premise / plot. EJ as the machine of engine of progress who's going to make sure that we stay on track and on time.
It is going to be very difficult to sum up this movie because I'm not completely sure I understood all of what was going on.
There were a lot of moving parts.
That's what makes you good, because you give up halfway through a synopsis.
That's very true. Let's give up halfway through. Okay, so, Charlize Theron is recounting a mission in 1989, pre-fall of the Berlin Wall, to the London MI6
Yep.
people and also some Americans.
John Goodman.
John Goodman is in there. He is wearing glasses.
Yes.
So she's like basically recounting this 10-day period in which they're trying to get the list, which is, as ever, just a massive list of every spy ever, and also a double agent. That's important. Right?
You would think that spies would stop keeping giant lists
You'd
of who
think
everybody
that.
is.
Yeah.
'Cause
They burn everything but this list.
This
Yeah.
one list, yeah.
For
To be
some
fair,
reason,
that's how people get paid, is that list.
It's true.
That's fair. It's in a watch, and she has to go find it from James McAvoy, who is wearing furs a lot and has
What is described as a Sinead O'Connor haircut.
yes.
Yes, in movie. That's diegetic
That's in-
Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah, so they are in Berlin, on the east side of Berlin primarily.
But also on the west a bit.
Sometimes they go over there. There's a guy named...
I don't remember any fucking names
I
from
want
this
to call him
movie.
Shotgun.
Spyglass?
but- Spyglass. There's a guy named Spyglass who claims to have memorized the entire list.
Plays by Eddie Marsan, who's great.
Yes, everyone wants the list. No one knows who is who. There's a bisexual relationship that is the best part of the film.
Second best part of the film.
And it is one of the best visualizations of a female sex scene that I've seen in a film.
How would it compare to Bound, to reference a previous episode?
I liked it equally to, if not more. I liked it more than Bound because it was 80s themed and there was a lot of neon.
Nice.
And also Charlize Theron is just a goddess
Yeah?
and seems to be very tall.
Yes. I will say that there was a moment in this movie that like really sold me a bit on Charlize Theron, and I feel like it may have been a stunt double because you couldn't see her face. But the moment right at the beginning when she's in her bathtub full of ice,
Yeah.
which she takes bathtubs full of ice regularly because of the pain of being a secret
bruises.
agent. Oh yeah, you've got
those
to.
bruises.
I might need to at some point reach into a ice bucket and pick out a gun.
Yeah.
So I need to train and take ice packs.
Maybe
all the
she was
time.
just cooling her hand down because maybe she felt like.
How
quite
did no
hot.
one see that coming? Like, oh, she's reaching really obviously into this ice bucket.
So
Wait, we're getting ahead of
slowly.
ourselves.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. There's the moment when she like gets
Let's
out of the ice
rewind.
bath and she like fucking flexes.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, I don't know whose back that is.
I want to believe it's hers because of Mad Max.
It could
Possibly.
be a double.
Yeah.
It could be a double.
Also, there's a lot of fight scenes that have no music behind them, and people seem to actually react correctly to being hit and being stabbed and being shot.
It was quite a gritty film, agreed,
Yeah.
in the sense, I'm doing air quotes for the podcast, in the sense that people, like, got fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I quite liked that even though Charlize Theron as Lorraine Broughton? I want to say Broughton?
I have no
Boughton?
fucking clue what her name was until
Lorraine
that girl wrote it down.
Broughton.
Protein.
Broughton? Maybe? There was something in there. She was presented as, like,
Great
this...
Britain. Britain.
Broughton? Plantain. Anyway, Lorraine Plantain is presented as like this omnicompetent badass spy person, but she does get the fucking lumps knocked out of her.
Yeah.
And it's good, and I'm like, yeah, look at there was the famous thing that like in a post 9/11 world, this was a theory posited by Max Landis that you sort of had Hollywood skewing towards like more invulnerable heroes, like you know people who just like, I don't take damage at all, I get hit and I'm like ha 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 ha, and this was like everything hurt and it was an effort and that was kind of cool.
There's just one thing that bothers me about the whole action scenes.
Yeah.
What?
There was a couple of the scenes that she was wearing heels.
Mm.
And if we are being practical in terms of like spies, as far as old school spies go, I mean, she was awesome kicking ass in those heels.
Yeah.
But
Would
Come
you-
on.
Yeah, your ankles would
Would-
give out at some
how
point.
how like falling off the stairs, everything like nope, still standing,
Completely fine.
Yeah,
Though I did like
completely
in one sequence she does take off a heel in a car and like fucking hits a
Yeah,
dude
and
with
it was a very
I,
short
yeah.
heel.
I think that scene was kind of like justified. It was alright.
Yeah.
That
like,
scene I think was probably setting up. This is why she wears heels
Yeah.
because they're dangerous.
Yeah.
She likes
Yeah.
stabbing them with.
You can stab up dudes with them super easy. So, if this slightly positive opening to the cast may have surprised you, I'm gonna turn around and say I didn't think this movie was very good.
No.
No.
It was missing something huge.
A soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, looking back at Gary Oldman's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, like, one thing that in terms of as far as spy movies go, the one thing that you expect from it is suspense. And what it was missing was suspense in terms of, like, there weren't scenes where, like, the element of danger was presented and without necessarily punching someone to show the danger.
There was like no existential dread. It's like,
yeah.
oh, we could be made at any time.
And also, like, you know, living during the time of the Berlin Wall, there's a lot of paranoia. There's a lot of, in terms of people just not trusting anyone. And there's those elements of the story, they could have brought it out in certain ways. There were scenes where she was being followed and so on. But, like, it was missing, like, it was done with such a fast pace that they didn't take the time to build suspense or, like, you know, just to create that fear of being caught or that fear of, like, who's
on your side.
Who's on your side.
Shay, any thoughts on the pacing of the movie?
Yeah, even the fight scenes just felt slow and boring and dull, and it looked more like. But there were some moments where I was like, oh, that's cool. But
There was that one scene, that one sequence that, like, for me, justified the movie, which was the sequence from when. So, minor spoilers. They're trying to get out of the city, and things go awry, so they have to hold up in a building where there are people coming down the stairs, and they're going up the stairs, and Charlize Theron's like, hang out here. I'm going to go and fuck these dudes up. And then it goes into a pseudo one-shot sequence.
Yeah.
That sequence there was really well done. It wasn't one take by any stretch of the imagination. As we were talking about on the walk up to the pub, like, there were clear moments where I'm like, oh, that's now the stunt double. You know, but I really liked the way that they used the construction of the film to build tension in that sequence. Because it's like, she has this really hard time fighting two dudes, and it's like, it's very rough and stuff, and she ends up fucking, you know, like quite graphically like beating these guys down. And she's like kind of, oh, I'm a bit messed up. And then the guy, her ally's like, oh, there's two more coming. And then you're like, okay, cool, there's more now. And you don't know how far it's going to go. And I felt like that was kind of a good sequence because it sort of put you a bit on edge. It kind of, by mimicking one-take cinema where there's no break, you didn't get a respite. There was just like this sort of protracted sense of, And I liked that. That, for me, that's the thing I would say was better than the bisexual relationship. Because I'm like, yeah, she's a bisexual woman, that's cool. But like that... I felt like in some cases that felt a bit sort of, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but like I sort of felt it was a bit like, and then they kissed and made out and got nude and humped and all that.
It felt like, okay, this is in here because that's just what happens in spy movies, but also I was like, yeah, I mean, no one is even acknowledging that it's a bisexual relationship. It just is, and that's fine.
It's just there.
I like that it's not acknowledged at all, the genders of that.
Nice.
Also, was that scene that you just mentioned, is that the first time she was using guns? Because for a long time in the film, she was avoiding shooting anyone.
Yeah. That was the first time she did.
She was just like, fuck it, I'll kill everyone?
Yeah, because she, at the start of that sequence, the guy gives her, like, the little gun.
Yeah.
And James McAvoy's character is all like, ho, don't let them catch you with that gun. And then she uses that gun for a bit, and then uses other guns, and then literally beats someone to death with a gun because there's no bullets in it. Like, that sequence there was good, but I feel like there were... for a 2-hour film...
It was so long.
It was how do you guys feel about the length?
I think, like, in terms of the... I don't know, there was so much action scenes, fighting scenes in there. And there were a couple of fighting scenes where they're trying to be, like, really clever. And like you said, that particular stair scene where they're trying to get away... That was, for me, like, kind of like the best scene possible in terms of the action. But, like, I felt like it did not need, like, that amount of fighting scenes in terms of, because, again, like, it's that thing of saying we're doing a spy film.
Would you prefer something, like, more cerebral?
I think there's a lot that they could have done in terms of, like, you know, building up the suspense of and also there's an element of a chase in terms of the KKGB on the other side, on the east side, are also chasing this the list, and she's also chasing the list. They could have, in terms of, like, they could have done more in terms of that element of the chase, rather than just, like, spending a lot of times getting caught and doing a lot of unnecessary setups, where they were trying to show, like, James McAvoy's character being the double agent, and also this thing of, like, they did this thing which is a twist and then another twist.
Well, I'll just say for listeners at home, if you're worried about spoilers for Atomic Blonde, we're getting a bit close to some stuff here, so. We'll be vague-ish if possible.
Oh, sorry.
But, like, just spoil it.
I mean, like,
gonna watch this?
Well, okay. I mean, like,
Watch the film.
Like, we're 13 minutes in, so we got about like 7-ish minutes left, and we're shooting for a 20-minute cast.
I do have a question I'd like to pose before we spoil anything.
Go for it. Yeah.
What would you think of the concept of removing the entire element of I'm retelling this story? Because that's what prevented a certain amount of tension, and it also
because you know she lives
so much time.
Yeah. Yes. Like,
just remove it.
I think if they just did that, practically, it'll just go into the story, and you'll be just left with little information. And in terms of, like, through her actions, you'll find out as the story unfolds.
Well, yeah, like, because
that would have been great.
That would have totally have justified the whole thing of, like, when she first gets to Berlin, she's, you know, made by the KGB immediately. Yeah. Like, she immediately gets jumped. Imagine if it was, like, cold open. Well, you have the bit with, like, where the guy fucking Gascoigne, whatever is it.
You missed the cold open.
Well, yeah, I had to pee. Yeah. And you said, like, oh, there's just a whole opening sequence. So I was like, I'll go quick. I came back just in time.
Yeah.
I was very quick.
Really
I ran.
You missed Gascoigne running.
Okay,
That was it.
I was running, so
Okay.
I felt like that was part of the movie. But I saw Gascoigne get killed, and then you go to like her in London, like, here's your mission, blah blah blah. What if? Here's a theoretical opening to the movie. You have the Gascoigne gets killed. Hard cut. Charlize Theron gets off the plane. And is immediately picked up by the Russians, and you have that car chase sequence. She meets
Yeah,
James
that would've
McAvoy,
been so
and McAvoy's all
badass.
like, "Welcome to Berlin."
The whole reason that in terms of the opening scene where she sits down and she has to explain her whole mission was just to explain to the audience, like, oh, like, you know, just in case so that you don't get confused, we're gonna explain it to you.
Well, I think it was more
Like,
that I was like, we need to set in some red herrings of like, oh, do you trust the American? What, like this?
Why is he
But-
here?
Yeah, like-
that was the other side. But like, to be honest, you have that element in the whole film, like in terms of like the even James McAvoy's character and Lorraine's character, who both are on the same side, they didn't trust each other.
No.
Like so.
Well, they set up quite early that you couldn't trust James McAvoy because they were like, Percival, he's been out there so long, he's gone feral. You know, you can't trust him. And so we went in going like, okay, I don't trust this guy. It's James McAvoy looking super weird.
And there's a
Yeah.
double agent somewhere. Watch
Somewhere.
out. And you've only met literally 3 agents in this film. So
Yeah, it's got one of those.
Yeah,
Sorry. There was the other scene, like in terms of the other scene that I liked at the end. James McAvoy's character doing the whole monologue bit. to
Really?
Camera,
To
yeah.
camera.
That was
like,
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Which you think he's talking to the audience, and that moment was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think it justified in terms of it made an element of like a political statement in that sense about that era in terms of like a lot of people died. And yeah,
Everybody you
there's-
know has
there's,
died.
Like it was all for nothing and so on.
Yeah.
I think that was like a brilliant moment in there.
do you
What-
think he was channeling Richard E. Grant from With Now and I? Right, yeah. That's what I felt like. He was doing some heavy Richard E. Grant.
Like a little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. What do you guys think about the setting of it in Berlin during the division between East and West, and then having the fall of the wall happen during the film? Like, I did think that was kind of interesting because it's that while it's a very interesting historical period, I don't feel that there's really enough stuff set around that weird time where you have a population divided against itself, and you have sort of like elements of the state providing like tremendous control and that kind of thing. I think like it's a ripe area for spy work, of course. But I also thought like I'm quite down with all this brutalist German architecture and all of these people being like, oh, let's listen to an 80s soundtrack and then hit someone with a skateboard. I was like, yeah, all right, this is fine. How do we feel about like art direction kind of like supporting the narrative and so forth?
I've been to the cinema that they go to.
Really?
Alexanderplatz. Yeah.
Ah.
So that was interesting. I was like, oh, I've been there.
Did a man with a key in his face fall through the screen?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, it happens every time.
Every
It's-
time? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
It
Just,
gets a bit odd.
It's a 3:00 show.
oh, I see. Okay, cool. One of the things I heard from a friend of the show, Andrew Clark, when he saw the film, he described it as Nicholas Winding Refn-esque, but without the same maniacal attention to detail that Refn gives to his films. And I can kind of see what he means. I haven't yet seen Neon Demon, which I feel like I should.
I've only seen Drive, and I watched it during the 2008 election, so I don't remember
wow.
a lot of it. It was just a very stressful night.
Yeah.
We flipped between that and election results.
How could you flip from either of those things?
Oh god, we lost that state.
I don't recommend watching it like that, and I would like to watch it again because I don't remember much.
Oh
of
man,
it.
I have it on Blu-ray.
Oh, we should watch it.
It's pretty good. As much as I would like to continue the discussions that we're having, we are approaching the end of our allotted
Wait,
time.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Go for it, Shay Shay.
To you all. Can any of you tell me what is Charlize Theron's character motivation
I-
for this film?
I
Nope.
have
Because-
no idea.
Because to begin with, it's like, oh, we fridged that dude because you were in a relationship with him.
I better
So-
burn this photo.
So you're gonna avenge him or something? Nope.
No.
Nope, that's not
No.
important. What? Oh, and then she's like, oh, I finally got my life back at the end. It's like, Did you? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That was
I
never
didn't-
on the table.
What,
Yeah.
What
was
the
your
stakes
life?
for you?
And also-
why did you do this?
And then the
What's
film's all
going
like,
on?
oh, maybe James McAvoy's evil, and you're like, it's probably not. Yeah, it seems a bit obvious.
Yeah, in terms of that, there's none whatsoever. But like, I think.
Which is what I think the film
Oh,
is
that's
missing.
Yeah.
that
Or
delivery, that's
any-
fucking great.
Maybe that's why it's missing its soul.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Because you have to relate to this character, isn't it? And also the fact that like they imply in terms of based on like the wounds that she has, the way she behaves, that she's been doing this for quite a long time. And that is there. So therefore, also like it doesn't go further than that, like implying that through the way she behaves and so on, even when she gets into a relation with the French spy, sexual
LaSalle.
relation,
Yeah.
not any long-term relation whatsoever.
Yeah.
She literally says in the movie that these relationships, they aren't real.
Yeah, but there's no motivation for her character at all. But and also, at least James McAvoy's character, his motivation was like to make money and sell secrets and so on.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, which is fine for a supporting character. It's like,
which
okay.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
fine. But
She
like,
was. I would say that Lorraine was a very unavailable lead character.
Yeah.
Like I was like I get it. You're a strong
Sadly,
badass
yeah.
secret agent, but I'm just like
Accurate.
accurate. I understand that like yeah, you're a strong badass female secret agent, sure, but why do I care? It's like
Yeah.
well this you know I don't want to even lower this to like compare it to Bond because fuck Bond.
Yeah.
But it's that thing of like
better than Bond even.
she seemed to have nothing but disdain for the job that she was doing, like you say.
Yeah.
But the movie presents it that she's been doing this for ages,
Yeah.
and the question is why?
And she's like 3 layers deep
Yeah,
as well.
super deep,
Like,
as we discover towards the end of the film,
yeah, and
where that whole ending sequence was entirely unnecessary.
yeah,
I feel.
Maverick twist sort
Yeah,
of.
oh yeah, just suddenly like, oh, you think you got it? Oh, there's more. You John Goodman. Oh, on a plane. What?
that
Well,
to be fair,
major
that
spoiler
wasn't
there.
the twist.
John Goodman was on a plane the whole time.
The
He
whole
wasn't in a
time.
room.
did her accent change in the airplane?
Yes.
Yeah,
She
like a
changed
bit.
it back to American.
Yeah.
So they're like, are they implying that she was an American agent all this
Yeah,
time?
She
well,
changed-
that's okay. Well, but
she
it's out of the
changed
bag.
from-
But
Spoilers.
spoiler.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
She
Sorry.
changed from British to American in the KGB's Paris hotel room,
Yeah.
Mm.
and then continued on with
Yeah.
whatever.
But that whole thing of like, KGB, I'm with you. Now you're all dead. Why? What? Who?
Yeah, but yeah.
And also like in terms of the purpose of her being there with them, like there's no exchange of like in terms of she had the list at that point. There's
Yeah.
no exchange of like, oh, I'll give you the list and you give me.
I'll
something
get
for it.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was none of that. It was they implied that she was a KGB agent and then
Well,
from
she was
there,
like a triple agent.
Yeah,
So she was a
like-
British agent,
so,
KGB
like,
agent,
yeah.
but really she was always working for the US.
She was an
I-
American
again,
agent
yeah.
Which
posing
is
as
why
a
all
she
the
never
time.
wanted the Americans in the room.
because
Yeah.
she was all like, oh, John Goodman knows who I am.
So
Yeah.
so that's like the twist within a twist within a twist, Inception style.
Well, it's but
Yeah.
that like gives it too much credit. It's like when she got onto the plane at the end and John Goodman was like, "You called me a cocksucker," you know, and I was just like, "Go away, movie. This is silly."
I would have been fine if she was just evil the whole time.
Possibly.
When that was true for 2 seconds, I was like, yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
would fine.
the damning moment for this film was that the sequence that we mentioned earlier on the stairs, the whole one take thing, I was really prepared for that to be like the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like she'd have this whole crazy battle and she'd have to get Eddie Marsan's character out and then he dies. I was like, oh, you failed. And I was like, okay, cool. That's where you fucked up. That's where you got all of the wounds
Yeah.
that you have in the briefing room at the start end of the movie, as it were. And like, this is why you're now being brought up to explain what went wrong. And then the movie keeps going for like a while with this whole, oh, but what about that French girl who really had no reason to do anything. It's like, she's like, I'm a spy. And they're like, you're also the worst spy ever. She's like, I am. But also I got you, James McAvoy. And you're just like, okay.
That was the worst thing ever. Like, if you're a spy, last thing you want to do is give your hand away. And she gave her cards to James McAvoy, which incidentally ends not so well for her.
Yep.
Why did he kill her?
Because
she had the pictures of him.
But he didn't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
He didn't
He
know
didn't
that.
know that.
But she implied that she had something
On him. She
Oh,
was like, she
in the
she
tape.
called him. Yeah, she was
Yeah.
like, oh, you tried to fuck with me. But then you have to go back to the question, why did you call him and say, I'm gonna fuck you up, James McAvoy?
She could have waited until she left the country.
Yeah, she just left.
Or she could have just not done that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He would have found out eventually.
There were
Yeah.
lots of bits and pieces of this movie that were just like, yeah, but why that?
Yeah.
You know. Alright, so we are now going to move through to our final section, which will be our final thoughts. As mirroring the opening of the podcast, you have to come up with a one-line summary of what your feelings on this film are. The newcomer, Zach, your one-line take to close out your feelings on this film.
I would probably say if it had a soul, it would have been great. But no, it didn't.
Fair enough. Shay?
John Wick, he's after his dog gets killed. He's sad. James Bond, he's cold because he's everyone dies around him, so he's a tragic character. The only motivation is to give some stunt guys a great reel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Damning. EJ?
I will listen to the soundtrack, and I will watch that one scene again, and that's it. Otherwise, it is not worth watching. And I say that with great pain because I do love Charlize Theron. And her 2016 Taylor Swift hair in this film was amazing.
You had to bring in some T-swag?
She just had the same haircut.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
And finally, I will just say the thing that I've been saying to everybody since this film has come out. They had a glaring oversight in this film, which is, why was the theme song of this movie not Atomic by Blondie? Thank you for listening.